If we look the word pharmakia up in the Strong's Concordance, we see it as G5331, and it comes from G5332. It means medication, giving us the word pharmacy. By extension, meaning magic, literally or figuratively. It also means sorcery and witchcraft. In the Thayer's Greek lexicon, we read, it means the use or the administering of drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with adultery and fostered by it. It is usually used as a metaphor for the deceptions and seductions of adultery. Again, this word derives from the literal Greek word meaning medication, and it gives us the word pharmacy today. So this term sorcery in the book of Revelation, it was used to deceive the whole world. But what did the book of Revelation say before that? That Satan, the serpent of old, had deceived the whole world. The serpent deceived the whole world using what? Using pharmakia, which is what? Medication or poisons. Gives us the term pharmacy. Now we have heard more about pharmaceuticals in the last couple of years since 2020 than ever before. And even before that, we heard about it nonstop. All the commercials, all the advertisements, and you'd hear the long lists of all of the destructive things that, you know, the side effects it might cause. Maybe you have restless leg syndrome. Maybe you have some little minor, problem, but you take this pill, it's going to cure your restless leg syndrome, but you might have a heart attack, you might go schizophrenic, you might want to kill yourself, suicidal tendencies. And this is not even a joke. These are literally how most of these ads sound, and we've heard this. But now, since 2020, when the whole world shut down because of the novel coronavirus, we know this. And as soon as this thing was released, what did we hear about? Oh, there's going to be injections. There's going to be inoculations. We've got pharmakia. We're brewing some pharmakia. We're going to have it in warp speed. And the whole world foamed at the mouth over this. Yes, give us this pharmakia. We need pharmakia. We never could survive. You know, the atheists say we've been here for billions of years or millions of years without those things. We don't even believe that we've been here that long. But anyway, the point is that, it doesn't even make logical sense. And we all know it. But there's a deeper reason, and that is because Satan uses the pharmakia to deceive the whole world and has already deceived the whole world with many other means, not just the pharmakia. But the pharmakia is the special ingredient that the whore of Babylon uses in these last days.
We have been told to just trust the science. But what science exactly? Because contrary to the Nuremberg codes, and yet this experimental shot has been both mandated and even incentivized with things like lotteries. This notion of blindly trusting in science reminds me of the thalidomide crisis. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, thalidomide was marketed to help pregnant women who were suffering from morning sickness. The use of thalidomide in 46 countries by women who were pregnant or who were going to become pregnant ended up resulting in what has been called the biggest man-made medical disaster ever. This resulted in 10 to 20,000 children being born with a range of severe deformities, such as missing arms, legs, eyes, and facial deformities, as well as thousands of miscarriages. And these photos are heartbreaking. You hear stories of parents who literally killed their children. They call them sympathy kills. Like they felt so terrible for their child. It was in such agony and such pain. It was terrible. It was a terrible thing that took place. Inoculations have a protected status in the USA, and pharmaceutical companies cannot be sued if their injections cause physical harm. So why would anyone want to take such an unnecessary risk when something like this, the thalidomide crisis, happened just 60 years ago, and it was a worldwide disaster? Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. However, it is worth noting the history, just to be fair, that things like this do happen. And they happen to people who did not know they were going to happen while they were taking the pharmakia, the pharmaceuticals. Big Pharma is probably the most powerful entity on earth. It has demonstrated that time and time again, that it is literally above the law, that it has well enough funds and resources to squash any type of lawsuits that may come against it. And it has its lobbyists in Washington and the bureaucrats and all these who are involved heavily in making sure that Big Pharma continues to grow in wealth. And now we see that Big Pharma is literally probably as powerful as many nations, with the way that it is distributing its pharmaceuticals for this so-called pandemic worldwide. The book of Revelation chapter 9 verse 20, and the rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, that they should not worship the demons and idols of gold and of silver and of brass and of stone and of wood, which are neither able to see nor to hear nor to walk. And they did not repent of their murders, nor of their drugs, sorceries, their pharmakia, nor of their whoring, nor of their thefts. And if you asked anybody about theft, they would say, yeah, that's a sin. If you ask anybody about murder, sure, that's a sin. What about adultery? Absolutely, that's a sin. What about pharmaceuticals? What about going to that pharmacy? What about pharmakia? Oh, now we've got all kinds of excuses why it's okay. You see how that works. Now, that's very interesting. Now, we read this word, pharmakia, comes from another word. Let's look up this word. It appears in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone. This is the second death. The term sorcerer here is this word that gives us pharmakia. This is G5332. It is pharmakeos or pharmakios and pharmakon. These words mean a drug, a spell-giving potion, a druggist or a pharmacist, a poisoner by extension of being a pharmacist, a magician, a sorcerer. Thayer's Greek lexicon states pharmakios, one who prepares or uses magical remedies, a sorcerer. So making magical remedies, using alchemy to try and create these foreign substances by synthesizing them and using them on the population, this makes you a sorcerer.